If you take a taxi from the airport, you're charged an extra $2.50 fee. Right now, if you're taking a trip to Jacksonville, like Bill Dorflin from Illinois,
we're going to visit the sites in Jacksonville and St. Augustine.
You're not charged anything extra to take an Uber from the airport.
This is the first time that we've traveled since Uber or Lyft has been around.
That's because they weren't technically operating legally, at least until July 1st, when a bill passed the Florida legislature outlining regulations for ride-sharing companies like Uber and Lyft for operating across the state. A JIA spokesperson says representatives met with Uber back on Monday, proposing a plan to start charging customers $3.25 extra now that ride-sharing is considered legal. The ride-sharing legislation essentially says that airports and seaports are allowed to charge Uber extra fees that are consistent with those of taxis. The JIA spokesperson interprets that as meaning they can charge similar rates to taxis and Ubers. They don't have to be the same.
I think the thousands of Jacksonville residents and visitors that have come to rely on ride-sharing expect not just the accessible and reliable ride, but they expect an affordable ride.
Uber interprets the legislation as meaning that Uber and taxi should be charged the same.
We are of the belief that the airport must enforce a level playing field that the Florida legislature approved in its regulations.
An employee with Coastal Cab Taxi says, yes, Uber should pay the same so long as Uber plays by the same rules, like having set staging areas and having to pay for taxi medallions. This is also JIA's reasoning behind the difference in charges.
Probably would deter me from using Uber if there is more of a charge.
Dorflin says if there is a price difference, he'd probably choose taxi.
We usually try to figure out what the total cost would be overall, and so that would be the most determining factor that we would use.
Now, Uber tells me they'll soon actually be charging that same $2.50 surcharge as the taxis in the next few days, but they say they're still going to be fighting to not have to take that $3.25 surcharge. Meanwhile, Lyft is paying that $3.25 surcharge that the airport wants them to pay. Live at JIA, Jason Rantolo, First Coast News.